Facebook, or you could say Meta, is dying. The warnings were there all along, and of course, global expansion is slowing down and more attention is being paid to Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger, and then a strong swing towards the metaverse, complete with the whole ass name change so that Meta's potential would not be knocked down by Facebook. However, up until now, we've only seen gradual expansion, but not yet a total collapse, but that might lead to its demise. There are a few different stories involving the company, especially in the media. Recent events such as employees stealing user accounts and allegedly accepting bribes, a declining stock price, mass layoffs, an increasingly ineffective business model, and of course, a dismal performance from its metaverse project have all contributed to the company's current predicament. Net income for the quarter dropped by a factor of 52 according to their most recent financial report, so they seem to be in trouble. But why? Well, that's what we're going to be investigating in today's video on Econify, so do drop your comments for us, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification button right there to get a lot of new content that will blow your mind. Trust me, my mind's already blown. So let's see what we've got in store today. Despite how long ago it seems now, things were pretty different only a few years ago. The company was doing pretty well before COVID-19 went on a global tour, potentially adding over 100 million active monthly users each year. 2020 saw an increase of 300 million when the world went into lockdown and online activity of all types soared. Just recently, Meta reported in its earnings call that Facebook users have declined for the first time in its history. In the last few months, the Blue app has lost approximately over 500,000 users, so it's perhaps too soon to celebrate. With 1.92 billion daily users and approximately $40 billion in revenue generated by Meta in 2016. Well, it's still an extremely high figure, but will it last? Well, it turned out that this wasn't how things would work out, at least not for Facebook. The social network added slightly fewer than 50 million active users in the last 12 months, marking a dramatic slowdown in growth. Investor sentiment has plummeted as a result of a lot of reasons, like slowing growth and declining profit and revenue at Meta. A little over a year ago, the value of Meta was close to $1 trillion, and it's not the same anymore as more than half of its worth has been wiped out since then. Stocks have fallen so far that they're trading at bleak levels last seen in January of 2016. So if you hadn't cashed out some of your Meta holdings, you probably lost a lot of money. The Meta index has lost 70% this year, the poorest performance of any component of the S&P 500. The 2010s saw a shift away from computers in favor of cell phones, but Facebook still remained adaptable. Owner Mark Zuckerberg was dissatisfied with the company's lack of presence in the hardware market, and in 2013, Facebook attempted to launch its own smartphone, but a lot of consumers rejected it. So Mark was in need of a new challenge, and he would find one in 2014 in VR. Zuckerberg was sure that virtual reality would replace traditional computers after trying out an Oculus demo. He spent quite a lot of money, that's over $10 billion annually, on R&D, and rebranded the firm when he bought Oculus for around $2 billion. Well, that began Meta's obvious woes. Why? Because Mark was king. Even if others in the company shared a common disapproval of him and his methods, they were unable to stop him, although it's pretty easy to believe that the general trajectory of technology is eventually going to lead to the widespread availability of metaverse environments. And just in case you were wondering, the metaverse is sort of like a digital realm where people are attempting to make a real-world living using virtual reality. Yeah. But they had some difficulties, as you can imagine, and you might wonder how much longer will it take for the metaverse to catch on, because investors and speculators worry that Zuckerberg is staking his Titan firm on a trend that hasn't quite caught on globally. But Apple's iPhone finally overcame this limitation. Meta isn't quite there yet, but they've sold over 10 million VR headsets, which is great, but their flagship product, Horizon Worlds, a metaverse, looks awful. Actually, it's quite hard to comprehend that over $15 billion was spent on its production. In this case, we need to go all the way back to 2008 to see why the collapse of Meta's primary revenue stream, targeted advertising, is a factor. Facebook's hiring of Google ad executive Sheryl Sandberg as COO that year helped to moderate Mark Zuckerberg's impulsiveness, and she also played a key role in developing the targeted advertising that would catapult Facebook into the stratosphere. Because it was so effective, initiative, several of the earliest employees got quite wealthy. As a result, wallets benefited, although a lot of people suffered from it. When people realized they were just being exploited, they were furious, but it didn't really matter because the business was raking in the dough. As a result, in 2021, any third party might have crippled Meta by cutting off its access to data streams, and that is exactly what happened. When that happened, Meta lost so much money after a little man named Tim Cook required ad targeting to be turned off for iPhone users. And since iPhone users spend more money than Android ones, Apple's decision was quite devastating to Facebook. And now Google is seeing an increase in advertising revenue, as reported by David Wenger, Meta's chief financial officer. And now that Meta's earnings had vanished, everything had been stripped down to its fundamental essentials and could be examined in detail. To be honest, Meta is a firm that surprisingly isn't investing in the future of its main offerings. Instead, interface and user experience enhancements are put on the back burner. Now Meta concentrates on incorporating elements from other networks, such as Reels from TikTok, onto Instagram. However, taking on one of the most advanced social media algorithms in the world is no easy feat. Instagram's other services, such as Stories and Highlights, are more lucrative than the app's Reels. Moreover, the user experience has deteriorated over Instagram's 10-year run as a Facebook feature because of the proliferation of advertisements. Once a leader in social media innovation, the company has long since past its heyday. Sheryl Sandberg, the company's longtime CEO and self-proclaimed adult in the room, resigned in the first quarter of 2022. What that resulted in was increasing interest rates, which are destroying high-risk investments like big tech. And now Mark Zuckerberg rules with an iron fist because Facebook has laid off 11,000 employees, or 13% of their workforce. For anyone at all, losing over 70% of your stock value in a year is no laughing matter. According to Zuckerberg, the issue was due to excessive investment, and doubling down on the metaverse doesn't even appear to concern him or the investors. He planned to tell investors on a call in November that he expected the recent uptick in covert online trade to be long-lasting, so he made substantial changes to his investment strategy and price. But that didn't turn out the way most expected, because the global economic slump has not only brought internet commerce back to pre-downturn levels of activity, but it has also increased competitiveness. In addition, signal degradation has contributed to their below-predicted revenue. Beyond financial difficulties, Meta is also being scrutinized by the Federal Trade Commission and a slew of lawmakers who are antitrust activists and who are threatening to either split up the firm or make it more difficult for them to just buy companies. That's due to issues ranging from Cambridge Analytica to the exposed files on mental health and social division. In a nutshell, King Meta is pretty myopic, and the situation has thrown Meta into an identity crisis. I mean, it's understandable, it happens to all of us at some point, so maybe Mark and the gang need to do some introspection to be able to look at it objectively, and Mark should probably accept the fact that Meta is now split into two competing businesses. Unlike the former, a pure technological corporation with ambitions to build the metaverse, the latter is a social networking and advertising enterprise whose CEO has lost interest. So perhaps it's time to establish the social media division as a separate entity with its own CEO. What do you think about that, old Marky boy? So do let us know in the comments, guys. Like and subscribe to this channel, and let your friends know too, and your grandma. She's very nice. So that's it for this video, guys. I will see you in the next video.